I've been wanting to talk to you for so long. I remember being like so fascinated, and especially by like dimensions in your explanation. And I was like, oh my God, this guy is fascinating.
Today I was with Robert Grant.
I know.
Yeah, and he mentioned you, and I said, I think I have a call with her today. And I said, no way. So it was like all combined.
Soul families feel like they're uniting. I feel like there's like ancient soul families like really finding each other.
Yeah, and now it's faster. It's getting very fast. Yes.
Why is that?
Well, it's basically because the planet now it's tuning to a frequency that everyone can be connected to. Before everything was like cut, like disconnected, and it's a natural process of disconnection and going to sleep and waking up. That's a natural process in the planet. It's like a long winter, let's say, a long invernation, hibernation of consciousness. So now everything is waking up again, and it speeds the way we are connecting to one another. So as more people wakes up, suddenly the frequency starts to connect all the people that usually were connected again. So it's a faster connection today.
What is the point of the connection happening? What will happen as a result of that?
Well, it's not that there is a goal. Like, for example, I like to compare it with the seasons. So it's like we are coming from a winter, so that means that we have started in spring. And the point of spring basically is to produce flowers that opens in order to reproduce and create more seeds and fruits that can produce seeds that can sow and then create more trees and expand the forest and expand the pollination, and suddenly more animals can grow and more life can be expanded. But it doesn't mean that it will be always like that. So summer will be to enjoy it, to enjoy what we have been creating and sowing during the spring, and then autumn, which is the death of that system, in order to restore energy. So all the plants go inside again. We have to get into hibernation in order to process that information and rest for a period of time that can be disconnected from all the rest of the environment, because you have to go to the process within. And then again, spring. So what is the purpose of connection? It's basically because now we reach a moment in not in humanity, but in the planet history, that we start to leave spring again. So in the mind concept of this planet, in the mind or in the consciousness seasons of this planet, we are beginning again with spring. So that's why we are waking up, we are blossoming again, and showing our potentials to everybody, trying to open what was hidden within to the outside. So it's like a lot of flowers opening so we can recognize each other better now.
I like to look at a lot of things in the way that they happen as being sort of fractal in nature, that there's the seasons within our own year, but then there's like a larger fractal aspect of the seasons that might be 1,000 years.
Exactly.
Is that kind of what you're referring to as a season?
Yeah, and you can divide the 4 seasons, for example, you can divide them in 24,000 years. So you have fractals of a long time of period, like you are maybe 5,600 years in winter, and then 5,600 years in spring. So now we are starting spring, and spring doesn't start in one day. Even if there is an equinox that says to you,
yeah,
spring started, actually many flowers starts to blossom like few weeks before, and others start to blossom like a month after that day. So we can tell that because of all the awakening process that we have been living since 150 years ago, like since early since the 20th century or late 19th century, humanity started to wake up very fast. And even if for us today everything looked like weird and crazy and dark, in the 18th and the 19th century actually was the beginning of the waking up. So it was the beginning of the spring. And it took 200 years of the beginning of the spring. So that's why most of the change that we have been living in this past 200 years has been the beginning of what we are living now.
Yeah, and we have the contrast now to waking up, so it does look dark.
Yeah, the darkness that we see, that we perceive, is because there is so much light now that you can see the mess that we have done for 5,000 years. It's like you have been kind of blind inside a room, and you have been putting all the furniture and all the papers, you were throwing it away because you had no idea where to put the stuff, and suddenly someone starts to open the window, and you suddenly say, "Oh my gosh, this is a mess."
Yeah.
But it's not because today is a mess. It's because you have been creating this mess for 5,000 years, and suddenly now you see it.
Yeah.
It's not that this is not a dark time. This is a light time. So you can now become aware of all the things that we have been doing.
So what are we that we have these cyclical seasons? Like, what are we? Why does that even happen?
Well, everything is a cycle in the reality. So everything is like a heartbeat. Everything lives periods, process. In the universe, you have like 4 beats that measures every process through time, which is expression, experimentation, integration, and transcendence. So everything in the universe expresses itself. Express means that it goes out of a pressure. So something explodes and goes out. So that explosion is expression, something that goes out of this pressure that was inside. And then something experiment means to go around a circle. That's the meaning of experimentation. It's the action of going through the perimeter. Okay, so so it means that you are going around trying to check what has been exploded, what has been expressed. Then integration is to put together all the things that you have been looking around into the center again to understand why it exploded, why it was expressed. And then transcendence is to make something different from the experimentation that you got from that. So you said, "Oh, now it makes sense, and I will transform this into something different." So that's a process that everything goes through a long time. And this process is something that in nature has been called spring, summer, winter.
So the explosion has to be the spring, or like, how did the seasons align with
the expression is the spring, for example.
Okay, expression's the spring.
Yeah. And also the fire related to the universe, like the 4 elements that we have in nature. Everything that is a pattern of 4 is related to this structure of time and space, creates our perception of existence. So basically, what are we? We are basically an expression, a fractal of that movement, the essence of a being that it's in the process of forming itself. And the process of taking form is how we call information. So basically, we are constant information, is a process of data that has been organized in different ways. So it's a constant process of information that creates energy. And that energy is movement. So Basically, we are essence that exist, which means to go out from where you are, in order to create information towards energy. And that energy creates matter. So we are the result of data that is trying to figure out its own place or way, which makes us in this planet Earth, each human, it's a neuron of a planet that is thinking.
A neuron?
Yeah. So in that state of expression, experimentation, integration, and experience and transcendence, we are basically the neurons living those processes of a planet. Actually, the planet is thinking, not humans. We are just a fractal, a result of a living being that started to think. And we are in the process of experiencing what it is to think. So it's not that we are a species on a rock. We are actually the rock in a process of evolution.
You said something that I heard that I was like, damn, that's good. And I think you got it in a plant medicine ceremony. It might have been recently. It might have been the ayahuasca and whatever else that I think you just did a journey with a group. But it was, you said that we are the AI of the mineral world.
Yes.
So is that something that happened then? I don't know exactly when you discovered that or had that information come through, but is that what you're referring to a little bit?
Yeah. Well, this is something that I always knew somehow. But recently I put it together into my body. I integrated that concept that before was separated in the mind. And through the process of ayahuasca, I was able to feel it, not just think it.
Yeah.
And when you become something you believe, that's a totally different story. It's like if you are remembering the story for the first time. So my body recognized that truth that I knew before, but that this is the first time that I could put words on it.
Sure.
So basically, if you think in a very cold way, you are made up with minerals.
Yeah.
We are basically
minerals.
We're
energy and minerals collapsed into this density.
Yeah, basically the energy have created, like we can say also we are light, because basically all the minerals that exist is just an exchange of energy between particles, and those particles are the result of much more deeper energy until you reach the dark energy and then the dark matter and all these other realms that are not physical but are energetical. So if we are talking about the third dimension, that exchange of energy, the first thing that creates that exchange of energy is the mineral realm. So the mineral realm is the first realm on being created after energy. We can call the atomic realm. There's also the atomic realm, of course, which is a compact structure of energy. But when we talk about the planet as rock, we can say that every combination of the mineral realm has created life. Basically, when you go to the prokaryote, eukaryote story of how the first cells have been created, is actually different minerals that started to interact to one another in order to storage energy. So that was the whole process, was to put together a lot of energy, and they started to figure out a way to storage much more energy when they mixed each other and they used each other. So that created a symbiosis.
The minerals, you mean mix the
minerals? Yeah, the minerals. So they created this link that we call love, which is basically the exchange of energy. The exchange of energy to one another is the pulse, the constant pulse of exchanging different amounts of energy to one another. So I have a lot of energy, you have less energy, let's share that energy. And that, it's love.
So if love dies out, or if there is no love, it's because there's not enough energy towards each other.
Basically, it's a waste of. It's that you raise an amount of energy that maybe, for example, when you become more conscious, you need a lot of energy from a higher. So you will need people that has the same amount of energy or higher in order to transcend to the next step. That's why we break up. It's like you need to keep changing because you need to exchange different kinds of energy to keep evolving. And basically, that's how the mineral realm found a way to evolve, by exchanging different amounts of energy and making alchemy. Yeah, the constant alchemy. And they improve in a way that they created organs that exchange that energy. They improve in a way that they created evolution. They improve in a way that created something that we call that it's basically hormones, and the hormones created these flashes of energy that we call emotion. So basically, the constant movement of energy is what we call soul. And the soul never ends because it's a constant exchange of energy through the mineral realm. And it's the data. It's basically the data. That's why we remember our past lives. It's because we never died. Actually, it's because we just been uploaded to the cloud.
So talk about that transition then of, because we do forget. You luckily remember, but like most everyone forgets most everything. But do we forget? Because we don't have the contrast within ourselves to know what our reality would be like in another mind, in another experience. But we have like people that just seem to get it. There's people that have incredible talents of things. There's people that seem like old souls. There's feelings about like, oh, I feel very connected to Egypt. I feel very connected to the Vikings. I feel very connected to Mayan culture. And then there's other people that feel connected to Japan or Russia or, whatever. And so do we really forget?
It's not that we forget, it's that the cells has this mechanism of survival that makes the body storage the information in a way that doesn't bother them to survive in the environment that they are creating right now. Like, for example, if you are now living in the States and you have to, and your cells know that you have to work in order to pay your taxes and to live in the States and to reach a huge amount of people in order to expand what you know now, or I don't know, whatever project you have today, to remember that you were fighting a war in Sweden as a Viking.
They're gonna help you.
It doesn't help. It doesn't help because you would be fighting a war that doesn't worth it now. It doesn't make any sense. So basically what the cells do is, I don't need this now, so I will keep it storage so I can put all my energy, focus on what I need to know now. And for example, when you are a baby, what you need to know is how to call your mom because you're hungry. It does. So if you when you are 3 years old, remember that you were an artist in the Renaissance. It doesn't work because what you need is to cry in order to get food. So your cells basically are trying to survive all the time because the constant movement of energy is about not what you know, is about what you're moving. So because you're moving through time, and in order to move through time, you need to be born again, and you need to transform your body, to die, to be born, and until you find a way to not to die anymore, because you can die in life. So regenerate all your cells without the need of dying. Until we reach that process, the cells need to survive. So they need to adapt every time that they change the body, that the energy changes bodies and transforms itself. They need to readapt to the new environment. And that And that it's a huge amount of energy that every cell needs to pay attention to. So if you remember everything that you have done, it's like if every time that you are talking, you have to remember what you learned when you were 3 years old and your mom were telling you like, mom, you know,
Well, man, I felt that. I did a psilocybin journey, a guided one. And in this space, like I was out for probably about 2 hours, like just laying there under blankets. One of the first things that I came to say, and I didn't say a lot, but I was like, there's so much information in here. Like, and when I was in that space before I sat up and talked, I was like, oh my God, there's so much to remember in here. Cause every question had an answer, like immediately. And so I got up and I was like, in that space, I literally said, like, you know, how am I going to take all this information back to the humans? And they're like, you don't have to, don't worry about it. Like, just relax, just chill, like just be in the experience, enjoy it. Yeah.
Yes.
And so it also gave me an indication that might be why we forget. That's what I thought then, as I was like, man, we have to forget because we can't hold this amount of data. It would fry us.
So as much enlightened you get useless for this dimension. And so you transcend to the 5th dimension or to the 7th dimension, but you get useless for the 3rd dimension. So eventually, if you don't separate yourself and concentrate in what you're doing now, you wouldn't be able to do what you're doing now. You wouldn't be able to create the person you are now, enjoy the reality that you have created for yourself, and also to help different people to reconnect to themselves in different ways. When you connect to the divine, everything is one and you can see everything. And suddenly you have a complete understanding of everything, but you have no ways. And why is impossible? Because all the forces together is equal 0.
Well, you embody oneness. So just like you said, I took it into my body. Like once you become the one, there's nothing to even say because you're like, no, they know. Like it's all the same. There's nothing to say.
That's why when enlightened people comes back and someone asks, how was it? They just breathe. And they just say a smile and they just say, breathe. And you don't understand it because it's so complicated, because it's like, why breathe? Because it's oneness. You start to feel the whole thing. So when we forget, what we start to do is to concentrate in a way of understanding the unity, which means that there's a lot of people that will resound with what I'm saying, but there's a lot of people that won't resound with what I'm saying, but will resound with what you are saying. So depending on the frequency of the people, they will reach to the same truth through different channels that have been divided and had to forget many of the parts in order to concentrate in one way, because there's a lot of people or a lot of beings that will need to reach the unity through the way they understand.
And it's almost like everybody kind of speaks a different frequency language.
You go and speak Italian and try to explain to an Arab person in the middle of Chad that what is unity. So no way. So you have to find someone that learned the language of that region and learn the ways of that region in order to transmit to those aspects. And sometimes that aspect is art, sometimes it's music, sometimes it's science, sometimes it's spirituality.
So then by doing that, is that what helps you wake up to remember? Is when you connect with others with that frequency, it heightens it, it makes it stronger?
Yeah, and it's important to understand what remember means.
Yeah.
Because remember is not a goal. It's not that we should remember or we must remember because we forgot. Actually, remember means to put the members together. Again, that's what it means. The other word for remember is record
Hmm.
or remind, which is to go back to the mind,
Mhm.
or to go back to the heart. Those are the meanings of recording, remembering, reminding.
Mm.
These three meanings tells you that you have lost yourself. So you don't know where you are. So you are doing others' path, or you are struggling in your life because you don't know how to connect with yourself. So remembering helps you to go back to yourself, not to the source or to the universe or whatever. It's just go back to yourself, which is to record, enter the recordings that is inside of you. Record means to go back to the heart in Latin. So everything that is recorded inside of you, you can only access if you go back to your heart. That's the meaning. So if you want to activate your own potential, you have to go back to your heart, to who you are. And basically, who you are is just an idea, which is remind yourself who you are. And it's not about going back to the source or getting out of this matrix or whatever. It's just go back to you, where you belong, to your own center. And from there, you will find the pattern to start being your own creator.
Is there a parallel with the chakras in the body and where we are in time, that we're moving up into the heart, and how the heart will then help us remember ourselves back together? Does that play into it at all? Because I feel like I've heard some things regarding like moving up the chakras, moving up in energy, and this is sort of that transition point where we are able to then access more higher frequencies and into that sort of love frequency.
All the music that we listen is in 440 hertz.
Yeah.
So that means that music is resounding in the throat chakra. So it means that we are just saying, but we don't have the essence of what we say. So we communicate, we express, we are saying many things, we are shouting, we are expressing ideas, but none of them has a heart. So one of the frequencies that we have to align with is 432 hertz, which is here. Mm-hmm. So when you align to that chakra, to that frequency, you start to listen the heartbeat in frequency. So basically, you align with the chakra that, instead of expressing just that, express from here.
You see these bowls back here? They're all alchemy bowls. And the first time that I went to go get them, or I went to go pick some out, it was a process. Sit down, meditate, ground. She'll pull bowls, I pull bowls, and she plays them with my eye, and I'm sitting there with my eyes closed, and I had no idea. This is, you learn. I had no idea that the bowl was a note, and that note correlated with a chakra. I just I didn't know that. I just knew that when she played it, I was like, whoa, I feel that in my heart. I was like, oh, I feel that like really like high, like crown, like it feels like it's expanding. And so all the bowls kind of have their note, but then they also go a direction. They're positive or negative. You're talking about frequency and aligning. And so, there's so much overlap with music and sound and color and all kinds of different things. They correlate with the body.
Yeah. Well, basically, all the reality can be described as a symphony, because everything is entangled in vibration. So everything, one of the laws of the universe is rhythm and vibration. So there are two laws, that everything has a rhythm, which is the heartbeat or any beat, and you have the vibration, which is everything is vibrating. So everything makes a sound, and when everything is aligned or in harmony, you can listen to music. So basically, we are music. It's just that we don't listen to sounds, but our bodies exist through rhythms, pulses, and vibrations. that make possible the energy, that makes possible an atom, or particles, and so on. So every movement, everything that we have inside is correlated to one of these hertz and frequencies. So when you tune in the outside without a specific frequency, your inner frequency starts to tune back. And when you do that, suddenly a code of information inside your cells opens. So you start to feel an emotion, or you change from heat to cold, or from cold to heat. So your body starts to react to the vibration and to the music. Sometimes it's a rhythm, depending on the culture. But when you do sounds, different information from your cells starts to awake, because we are resonance. So it's like tuning forks. That's why with some people you get along very easy, and with some others you cannot. Even if the person is a good person, sometimes you cannot tolerate the presence, but it's just because the tunings are different. Maybe you are in the note E and they are in the note A or whatever. So you cannot hear the same song, and when they talk, you just hear dissonance. And we call that like, I don't resound with this. But we have a bad way of understanding I don't resound with it. The bad way is that if I don't resound, it must not be true. For sure, it's not true, because it doesn't resound with me. But actually, it is the truth. But it is the truth in another resonance that doesn't resound with your own truth. So it doesn't mean that it's not true. It's just another truth. Yeah.
Well, that was definitely like with the mushrooms that time. I saw myself as what seemed like a waveform, basically. And the first thing I felt was cold. And I was like, oh, well, it's not real. It's just a waveform intersecting. And this is the information I'm getting from this intersection of waves. I'm like, no, it's okay. It's okay. You're cold. Like, just put the blanket on. It's like, this is just an experience. And that was like, the information was that food was like that. Like, oh, a mango is just like this kind of frequency intersection. And that's what people are. And so sometimes things are just like a fun rhythm, right?
Yeah.
And sometimes they work totally in sync, and sometimes just not at all. Not at all. Like, does not compute, does not resonate, like you said. So is that accurate? I mean, is like a waveform, like was that information in that space that I got accurate?
Yeah, it's all waves. It's all waves of vibration that express themselves into patterns, and those patterns create energy, and that energy creates matter. So we are basically constant waves. We are not separate things. It's a constant wave. We are just an upper wave of a lot of people that have been born and die, and we are just diving this tide of frequency, and we are taking benefit of it, and then our energy will go to the other one, and so on. So it's a constant movement of frequencies. Not that you are born and then you stop existing, and no, it's a constant movement of waves that interact, like in an ocean. It's like when you see an ocean, the sea, you see these billions of tiny waves that interact to one another, and there are huge currents or small currents. So so many drops of water, and imagine that each one of us is a drop of water in an ocean. So we are moving along, all connected, and we think we are separated, but actually it's all one thing.
I want to talk about Egypt, and I think you just went to Egypt, didn't you?
I just came 4 days ago.
There's so many questions about Egypt. But one of the things I thought of when you said different frequencies and energies, and then I think about like how, was that part of how the stones were cut and how the pyramids were built, is that they were just in a different time in history where frequency and energy was just in a different space and at a different level. And that's what made that possible. So that's kind of what like made my mind go to Egypt. But first off, How was Egypt? I mean, I went there 2 years ago, and I've been wanting to go to Egypt since I was a teenager. So for me, I was so glad to finally get there. But did you have an amazing time? Was it
Oh yeah,
great, or do you not
yeah.
like going?
Well, I lived there for a year. It became my home in the past life, so I feel home there. Every time that I go is an amazing trip that connects me with new information, with new missions that I have to do. So Egypt basically is guiding me all the time in what I must do in all this life. So I really connect with the place, and this past time I've been like 10 or 11 days or a bit more, I think, on this cruise with a lot of people that I had no idea that I would join a cruise. My guides told me it's time to come back and you have to go now. And everything worked for me to be there.
It's the way it goes when you're doing what you should be doing, right? It's the way it goes. It moves easily.
I met a lot of important people that helped me understand different parts of my mission. So I knew that I had to go there to listen to people, not to talk to people. And it was really nice to listen and to understand why I had to be there in these past weeks.
Which was?
Well, it's a very long story, but to summarize it, I have been brought there because I am not just working for spirituality, but mainly to create a new society, a new understanding of society, and I know that needs to start in South Egypt. There are many things that brings me there, and there is a huge weird project that I'm working on that eventually I will share, but now it's still like in a place that it's weird to share. So but the idea is to start to create a new state of consciousness, but not a state of being, a real state, like a country.
Right. Like,
yeah,
like Arizona or California or
so
America.
Yeah.
So, or what? Or some other fun name that you'll come up with.
Yeah. Today we came up with the name of mitochondria.
Oh,
because
the powerhouse, the cell.
I'm trying to put together all the project to make a presentation to the people that are willing to join, so they understand all the parts of the project, which is how to create a new state of consciousness, the first one in the world. That would be a network and would start in Egypt. So I have to design first idea, and the next step, basically, I think that I will download the ways to doing that in the next 3 weeks, because I'm in 1 week I'm going to the North Pole. So I'm going to the North Pole to.
Are you going to go see if there's a hole up there, and if there's actually a way to get to inner Earth? Is there an inner Earth?
No, that's not in the road. I'm going on a cruise, but not that far. I'm going to Svalbard and to the northern part of Svalbard, so it's one of the places to connect with the space. Actually, all the signals and the internet is connected through Svalbard, which is a weird thing to know.
What is it called? Say that again.
Svalbard is an island in Norway. It's like a state inside of Norway with autonomy. And it's 700 kilometers from the North Pole in the Arctic Ocean. And there's only one city there, a small village. And but all the internet connections goes there. Like the main important internet connections and satellite connections that we use around the world come from there. and it's the only place in the world that we have a Noah's Ark, an actual Noah's Ark that is buried inside the permafrost with all the seeds in the world, just in case everything dies in the planet. Svalbard is the only place where we can restart the whole planet. So
now, an actual ancient old Noah's Ark, or meaning like metaphorically speaking,
new
there is
one.
a seed for everything.
Yeah, there's a seed for everything.
So this is something we've created as
Yeah.
like a default for
Yeah.
when someone pushes the wrong damn button.
Exactly. Yeah.
We have cryogenically frozen the seeds.
Yeah, but it's naturally preserved. There's nothing inside, just the ice of the permafrost. So they are naturally storage.
So this wasn't done on purpose? This wasn't done on purpose?
Yeah. It was carved on purpose. Yeah. There's all you can see is a door.
Okay.
And that goes inside the mountain, and nobody can go there. Yeah.
Are you gonna go there?
I've been there, but not inside. I've been at the door many times.
Wow.
For me, that place means the connection with the crown chakra of the planet, and the third eye also. So it's a place to have clarity in the mind and to expand to the space and time and everything. And so I had this chance of going there, and I think it's perfect that they changed my dates of the trip. I was supposed to do it in 2020, and they changed it because of COVID, and they put it now. So it makes sense that why is now.
Why do you think there's so much attention on Egypt right now? It seems like that. It seems like there's a lot of...
It's been always. It's been always.
Always?
Yeah.
Huh.
Egypt is the mother of our civilizations. The Nile was like the main spiritual path that people took to understand who they are. So that's why every civilization in the Middle East went to the Nile to do that process. So from the very first human being that walked along the Nile, understanding itself, in every one of our cells, we have the Nile path within. Because every human, the first humans in the world, in order to expand through the world, had to go through the Nile. So there is no one in the world that had no cell with the memory of having taken the path of the Nile. The first humans...
In another life, you're saying? Like at some point in time, this soul stream essence...
All human cells that exist today in these 8 billion people in the world, in order to go to the rest of the world from Africa, they had to walk along the Nile. So in order to go back to the first path that humanity took in order to expand to the outside from the within, they had to touch the Nile. Because when people came from Africa, the only way to cross to the other side was along the Nile. The only way to go to Middle East, to Europe, to Asia, then to Australia, then through Siberia to the Americas, and through the Pacific Ocean to South America, they all had to cross the Nile.
So where did humans first come from? Or is the version of human that we know... Well, no, let's back up. Let's start with humans started in Africa, is what you're saying, right?
Humans started in Africa.
Okay, how did that happen? Of
course, we have been updated.
Right. We've been genetically modified. Is this...
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, but the main cells, the main humans, the first actual humans were born in Africa. And from Africa, they started to expand and they started to be modified in Middle East, in Siberia, in the Americas. We have been in encounters, in constant encounters with other species from other places that have modified us, that had downloaded information into us, that had, but the main species that created the humans, the first cells, were in Africa. So that's where our species appear.
So
And
so the base, so there's a part of this human experience that is native.
yeah, there's a
So
part
is that just sort of the cell's learning process of like creating the organs, and then it just kept expanding and growing and creating a human?
modified. Yeah, and then
but
modified.
naturally.
The first thing was naturally in this world, but naturally it's very weird to say, because our design was created from the sixth dimension. So sometimes the thing is, when we say aliens created humans, we usually tend to think that aliens use the same thing as a human would use to create a species. Like taking a rabbit, take it into a lab, modify something, make a mix in a
Vial.
or whatever, and then put a syringe in it and wait for it to transform, or open it and change something inside. So that's how humans would do it. But people from other places,
Right,
other dimensions, from other worlds, they don't usually travel from one world to the another. They use interdimensional realities in order to do something. So basically, there are many species that never visit this world, but they modified the life in this world through the sixth dimension. So
I see.
so that's why,
Because we're existing on all these planes, right? Like,
exactly. And there are some species in other worlds that evolved to be able to mold and to use the sixth dimension. And in the sixth dimension, there's no space. So in order to transform the Earth, you don't need a spaceship to come to Earth. You just have to enter the frequency of Earth, and
Yeah.
from where you are, modify the plant, and the plant will modify it here through layers of time. So for them, it's just a second, but for the Earth, it could take 1,000,000 years.
Yeah.
Until the light is modified. So that's why what we see as evolution is actually a lab work in other planet. You know.
So why don't they just, why do we not get modified to the point that we are incapable of evil and destruction and disharmony? Why wouldn't we get modified up? We need a glow up.
Yeah, it's like saying, for example, I want an apple, but I don't want to wait for the tree to grow. So you cannot make an apple. You have to wait for the seed to be in the darkness and the pressure of the earth, to feel how to absorb the nutrients and extend roots. And the first thing that every being does in the vegetal realm, what is? To go deep into the darkness.
Yeah.
Because the darkness is the one that has the minerals. The dark is the one that has the potential. And you find the dark and the potential through going against the force of the earth. And you have to feel the pressure until you feel you are tight enough to this reality to start growing up. So when you take the understanding of how a plant grows, you will understand why, in order to become an aware human being, you first have to go deep into the darkness.
Is it true then, like, we're not capable of taking the upgrade needed to get to that space?
We are doing it.
Right. But like, I mean, in an instant, we're not capable of.
If you do it in an instant, if you do it in an instant, there's no experimentation. Without experimentation, there's no integration.
Yeah.
Without integration, there is no transcendence. So basically, you are breaking all the laws of time and space in the third dimension, and it doesn't make any sense for the third dimension. So actually, the thinking would be, why to even exist?
You'd be useless. Back to your original set. You'd be useless.
Totally. And there's only one fun thing for an eternal being to do, which is to limit itself.
That's the only fun thing to do?
Yeah. It's like, if you are limitless, the only fun thing to do is to put a limit.
Yeah. It's like death. Like if you never died, it wouldn't give life much purpose.
Exactly. Actually, there is no purpose. So we had to invent the idea of end to have a purpose. So that's why we created the idea of evil to understand light. We have to practice the bad things in order to understand what is harmony. If you don't go through the stage of listening, I don't know, very hard metal music, you won't understand the balance of a high frequency music, for example.
Right.
And neither of them is fine. Neither of them is the good one. So
what's happening?
It's just different frequencies to tune in and to experience. So
yeah, I mean, again, back to that like medicine journey. It was like, you're just here to experience it.
Exactly. So for the universe, actually, evil doesn't exist. The universe doesn't understand evil. The universe doesn't understand good. That's just something that we created in order to know how to survive. Evil can kill you. So it's better not to do evil. It's better to do good things in order to survive. And doing the right thing and the good thing brought us to create real religions, brought us to create culture, brought us to create patterns that we are afraid of breaking. So we are trapped in a system because we are afraid, because we have to do the right thing. So what is the right thing? You know, so that then you start to think, oh, maybe doing the right thing was not the right thing because we got trapped in our own system. So now we have to break it, and we are the bad guys because we have to break the system.
Right.
Yeah. So that's why, what is bad, what is good? And basically, for the laws of the universe, a bad thing actually is when you break the free will of others. And what is the free will of others? The free will of others is basically to allow the other to exist. To allow the other to exist, basically, when you kill someone or when you take the freedom from someone, you're breaking the balance of that someone. For example, for nature, it's not bad to kill when you need energy to eat. That's why all nature does it, because it's something natural. But there's nothing in nature actually that actually create slavery. For example, when you start to see the actions of evilness in nature, is when you start to see the dissonance of that reality. Because actually nature can kill because of a need, but cannot kill because of a will. So only mind can kill because of a will. And when you are becoming aware that you can kill for fun, or that you can do chaos taking life of others because of fun, then you start living a process of disharmony with the environment, with nature. And that's why a lot of other white cells of the body starts to fight back that cancer. It's like the immunological system, the white cells, and we call it light beams, but actually are white cells of the body. So it's the immune system of the body that suddenly runs towards the cancer, and the cancer basically tries to get the cells, and the body tries to survive. And if the body doesn't survive, it will give the information of how to do it next time in the next body. So
to do it better, to do it right.
Exactly. That's why, for example, the first humans, a cold for America, for example, the whole America, when they experienced the first cold, more people were killed because of a sneeze than because of a sword.
Well, I've heard that we kind of owe our existence to like germs and bacteria and like and illnesses.
Totally. The environment we live in, everything that we have here before was something that killed us. It was poison. The oxygen is poison. Basically, oxygen is something that oxidizes our blood, so it corrodes the body, killing the body. So basically, what our cells learned in the first stage of life was how to use a poison as a way of a source of energy. So we evolved.
There's an interaction?
Yeah, we evolved to find a way to take the energy from the poison, and we call that breathing. So basically, the plants extract the oxygen because it's a poison. The plant says, "I don't need this." It's basically plant shit.
Yeah.
So, and on the other cells, we said this is a poison. So how do we survive this poison that the plants are taking, are sheeting?
Found a way to use it.
How do we use it? So we started to use it as energy. So it's like oil, like petrol.
Is that like a form of alchemy then?
Yeah, it's an alchemy that we evolved in order to. So everything, bacteria, viruses, everything that we consider evil, were the reasons why the next generation survived, because our cells started to understand how to get better and better every time. That's why evil things are actually the ones that makes us stronger. It's something that you listen in every song, you know.
Totally.
So, but even though we try to get rid of it, and actually, for example, this is a very difficult thought to understand. But the reason why human rights exist, the European Union with free trade exists, and the state of Israel exists, is because of Hitler. So we got so many good things from an evil thing.
Yeah.
Like so many transcendental ideas, and so many the whole Europe and world, they said we cannot stand this anymore. We cannot produce this anymore. So they created all these structures to create free speech, free.
Right.
So we didn't have that before.
Right.
Until evilness pointed that and said, you don't have this.
Is it a human thing? Is it a third dimensional thing to have this light and dark, good and evil, this duality?
No, it's everywhere. It's in every dimension. It's just that in the main creation, we call that the void and the whole. So the whole, the complete, the unity is what we call the light or the good. And the void is what we call the bad, the dark, the shadows. But actually, from the point of view of the universe, it's not that. They look the same. It's just that one is black and the other one is white.
What are we working towards?
Oh, as humans, we are basically one of the aware species of the planet that can spread through the entire galaxy to create a whole expansion of consciousness, to become aware, to become part of the creator, and to be able eventually to be our own creators.
Like a source?
Yeah, we're basically a virus that its goal is to expand to the entire galaxy and to make the galaxy into a new source of creation. We're just a seed, like a tiny little virus that is good for the galaxy.
So does that support like a multiverse theory that this is happening, is happening, has happened, will happen in many other universes?
Yeah, it's so much that is happening, have happened, will happen. It's so much that it's impossible to explain. It's impossible to relate to. And eventually, when you get it, you understand that there's no purpose. You understand that there's no goal, that actually it doesn't matter. And when you think about it as a human, that all the purpose that a human has in its life basically is to survive and to live longer and to love everybody and to do something that means in the world. So this is a very destructive thought. It's terrible. But when you feel it, not as a destructive thought, but as a creative thought, suddenly something happens that is amazing, which is when you see that there are so many options and things in the universe, and there is no purpose in all of them because they are actually not happening at all. They are just projections of a mind that is trying to express something that is within, and that actually the eternity is playing with limits in order to be able to experience itself, because otherwise it's impossible, because the void cannot experience itself without limits. So you understand that the only purpose that we created in the universe was limits, and we are fighting the limits which we created in order to exist. Otherwise we wouldn't exist. So when you take away all the limits and you find it again with the universe, with the cosmos, you find yourself timeless, infinite, spaceless, and suddenly you are nothing. You're a void. And when you're a void, you can feel two different things: desperation of this doesn't have any sense, or the other, which is I am
everything. I am all potentiality.
So basically, when you get there, you become free, because now you will enjoy every second of everything, because you know now that you're not trapped in anything, that you're actually just experiencing a second that is beautiful as the eternity. And you become free because you enjoy every breath, because you enjoy every walk, you enjoy to create projects, you enjoy to share with others without a need of survival, without the need of having a goal. You just enjoy doing things because you enjoy creating, because you are the creator. So you have to go through a very rough time until you get to that point that, for example, I have this project. We have to create the first state of consciousness and blah, 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 and all these things. But before I was doing it because I was in a rush. Like, I have to do it because otherwise this planet is going to be wrong and blah, 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 all these things that the ego, the survival, was trying to say. And after my year in Egypt, I went 370 days in a row inside the pyramid. And after all this meditation and all this preparation and all this information that I received, suddenly I was like, wait a moment, I'm doing this because I enjoy this, not because I have to. It's because I decided to live my life like if it is a movie or a story. So I am sharing a fun life. I don't want to do like a life of survival. I want to create projects that have meanings, because I love to live like if I am in a movie. So that set me free from everything that I'm doing, and everything is moving so fast. Like
Yeah, that's the thing. It starts going faster the more, because you're more in the flow.
yeah,
So I want you to talk about that a little bit, because that's something that is becoming far more regular for me. And it's like the more fun I line up for myself and the more cool things I do and the more I just do what I want to do, the more the universe sends you like totally big signs that you could never orchestrate yourself. It's like I take like the huge winks from the universe, like, there you go. There you
yeah,
go. I just made your life better, didn't I? Ways
yeah,
you could never do it, right? There you go. And then I
yeah,
always think that's more on track, but it's truly when I'm doing more of the things that I enjoy doing, whether it's a vacation or work, just like picking
yeah.
my life, that more of that happens. And so why is that? Like, how does that correlate?
Remember, we are basically energy or vibration. We are vibration. So when you take a decision of, for example, having fun, when you do your projects or your goals in life,
Yeah.
bit of suffering, so you are in a high vibration. Why
Right.
high vibration? Because basically when you are happy and you're set your intention of being happy, not because something is happening outside that makes you happy. That's a reaction. In order for it to become an action, you have to decide, I'm going to be happy today. Because otherwise, you live in a constant reaction of something happening outside. So it's like you wake up, and even if it's a shitty day, you say, I'm going to be happy today, and you start to laugh.
Mhm.
That creates an action. And when you create an action, you create a chemical reaction in your brain that tells to the hypophysis gland, which you call it pituitary.
Hippocampus. Yep. I
Yeah,
know what you mean.
and the pituitary gland.
Mhm.
So you tell to that gland, hey, I'm happy. So that gland will tell to your genitals first, hey, he's happy. Then will tell to your adrenal and your pancreas, hey, this person is happy. So it starts to send glucose to the blood. So you start to feel happy.
Yeah,
Like,
this is like Bruce Lipton stuff. Like you change your biology.
yeah. So you start to, by just saying, I'm happy, the body says, we need glucose because the body is happy. So you start to have energy because the pancreas starts to produce glucose. And suddenly you start to feel like, yeah, I have energy. So it's a practice. You have to practice this. It's like going on a bicycle, when you're a child. It's something you have to practice, like learning how to talk. It's not just that. And when you start to have that communication with your body, like saying, I'm calm now, like listening to your heartbeat, like now I'm calm. And suddenly you start to tell to your body how to act. And when you start to have that communication, what are you doing? You are basically manipulating your own frequency. You're tuning yourself into a frequency, this high frequency, because now you can go up. But if you wake up and say, I'm ugly, I don't know what to do, I'm lost today, I'm sad, so your body will start to react to that. Your body will start to create that reality for you through the hormones. So your hormones will start to react to that. Your position also, if you sit like this instead of like this,
Yep.
your brain, when you are like this, your brain feels this person is sad, and because you are closing your shoulders, you're using this protection, so the body interprets that you're protecting from something. So
Hmm.
you start to feel fear and tiredness. But if you're like this, your body says this person is standing up, so we have to face something with the chest. So it's just to fool your mind a little bit with intention, so your body follows that lead. And when you do that, suddenly you tune to a reality in a frequency that you can only perceive what is in that frequency. It's like tuning a radio. So
you can also see more of the positive in people, even because
Exactly.
you're tuned to those frequencies.
And when someone, I don't know, treats you in a bad way,
Yeah.
you suddenly laugh instead of feeling sad.
Mhm.
You know, so you suddenly start to like, wow, like to react to that and see the code. Oh yeah, that person said me this because of this that just happened. And you start to laugh about it. You start to feel to notice that, like, the synchronicities around you.
Totally.
So that's why it all starts not from the outside. It starts from a decision that you make in your mind, and that tunes your body into that reality of being creator, of being in harmony with everything.
I mean, when I wake up in the morning, and I've been doing it the last few days for some reason, and I don't know why I don't do it every day, because it works every day. I do it. But when I wake up and I think of like 2 or 3 energies that I want to feel that day, like I want to feel everything go really smoothly, and I want to laugh a lot today. And like just have fun. That's it. Set the intention without fail. Literally, that's what happens that day.
Yeah. For example, a lot of people, I've heard a lot of people saying the law of attraction, for example. The law of attraction works, the law of attraction, but it's not, the law of attraction is not just asking for things. The law of attraction is related to 7 other laws in the universe that usually people don't follow. So the only way in which the law of attraction works is if you work with the other 7 laws.
Is it the Hermetic principles? Are
Yeah,
those
the Hermetic principles. Yeah. So you cannot attract to you what you don't resound. You cannot attract to you if you are not in the right rhythm of what you are trying to attract with. You cannot attract if you don't create the cause for that consequence.
Yeah.
You cannot attract something if you don't have the mindset for that something. You cannot if you don't correspond to that something. So there are so many other laws that sometimes, because we want things fast, we think that they don't require practice. It's just a magic thing. But actually, there are many things that you have to do in order to get there. It's like learning how to drive. It's like learning how to talk. You have to practice.
I know that there's like no goal for all this, but if we want to get into that flow state, if we want to enjoy this experience more and more, what would you recommend some of those practices or disciplines be that will help people do that?
Well, there are 3 main things that we should all practice at least once a day, which is, first of all, remember that you become what you eat. So your cells take the energy to become you, to nourish the DNA according to the energy that you set in your body. So the minerals, the proteins, the things that you put in your body, and also the intentions, and also what you see, what you watch, what you hear, what you feel in your day.
So what you put in your body through your mouth, through your eyes, through your ears.
Through the 5 senses.
Yeah.
So at least we have to think how to nourish one of those senses in a good way. So maybe today I say, today I will caress someone or myself, like, to nourish through the touch.
Yeah.
Today I will, I don't know, cook something that smells really good, or that makes me remember about my childhood or something, whatever. Or these tiny things that nourish the body, because basically your DNA stores the energy from what you eat from each one of the 5 senses. So think about how you nourish at least with one of those 5 every day,
Okay.
with tiny little things, because you will become that. The second thing is related to the energy, and it's breathing. At least 1 minute a day, try to be aware of your breath. So when you're aware of your breath and you start to breathe only through the nose and take the time to feel how the air goes in, how your lungs work, how your heartbeat changes the rhythm, how the air refresh your body and then goes back out very smoothly, always the nose in and out through the nose. So as long as you can, like breathing in very slow, holding in as much as you can, but not like if you are under the water, like very softly, and then exhaling very softly too. So at least 1 minute, and then you start to add more minutes.
I mean, you could really do this when you go to sleep at night, and it would probably put you to sleep.
Exactly, yeah. And that helps to your body to enter a frequency, a right frequency. So so it tunes all the glands, it tunes all your bloodstream, so your soul starts to find balance through breathing. Just it.
Cool.
All your emotions starts to find balance just by breathing. And the third thing is, at least for whatever, try to laugh at least once a day. Like a joke, with
At
a friend,
yourself.
whatever. Yeah, with yourself, with others, whatever. But try to laugh about something once a day, because that creates a spark in your brain that produces all these hormones in your brain that makes you feel like in an orgasmic state. So it's good to smile, at least if you cannot laugh, but try to force a smile, because when you force your smile, all your muscles in your face tells to your body, this person is smiling. So maybe smile as much as you can until you start to laugh at yourself. It's good to laugh of yourself, like your silly things. So at least once a day, 1 minute of conscious breathing, laugh about something, and be aware of what are you taking from the 5 senses, from one of the 5 senses.
Those are
that I think that's very easy to do.
Yeah.
But it's the beginning of a step to awareness.
Yeah. Oh, those are good. Really, really good. Hopefully people should feel peaceful, right? Like it's not nothing to do other than enjoy this life.
All the rest of information, like the pyramids, the purposes of the countries, and all the rest of the things, are just decoration to these main ones. Like it's important to know all these things, but are not trivial. Like it's not the main thing. They are just things that helps to understand the environment, the history, to locate yourself, to understand better the purpose. But they don't nourish the real core of it. So yeah.
Do the internal work. All right, Matthias, thank you very much.
Thank you.